This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning, and so great to be with you. I'm Adrena Sinclair.
And I'm Marissa Perlman in for Dana Kozlov this Thursday. Thanks for spending part of your morning with us. Well, this morning, the sentencing hearing continues for the man convicted in the Highland Park parade shooting. We're live in court, where more victims are expected to give testimony today.
Now I'm running for Senate.
A big announcement from Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton early this morning. She's announced she's running for a U.S. Senate seat next year and shares why she's joining this race.
And as tributes continue for Pope Francis, Cardinals prepare to select the next leader of the Catholic Church. The early morning meeting to start that process. But let's begin this morning with your nonstop news and the second day of sentencing for the Highland Park parade shooter. Robert Crimo III killed 7 people and hurt dozens of others during that 4th of July parade back in 2022.
Now, yesterday in court, so many victims shared their emotional impact statements. Noticeably absent, though, during those statements was Crimo. Darius Johnson live outside the Lake County Courthouse. Darius, can you please walk us through a little bit more about what we saw in court yesterday and also what we can expect today?
Hey there, ladies. Good morning to you both. First, I want to begin with what we're going to expect today. People just started walking into that courtroom as that hearing just began at 9 o'clock this morning, so in the last minute or so. One thing that we know is expected today, there is one final person who will give their victim impact statement. Followed by that, we are expecting to get a sentence for Robert Crimo III. Now take a look. Inside the courtroom, every seat was filled except for one, Robert Crimo III's. Prosecutors played his confession in which he calmly described climbing onto a rooftop and opening fire. The statements heard on day one painted a picture of the horror that was unleashed July 4th, 2022. Highland Park investigator Jerry Cameron took the stand and recalled driving victims to the hospital. Then Dr. Jeremy Smiley, who escaped the parade safely after attending with his family, went to work at Highland Park Hospital to help those who were injured. Then we heard tearful testimony from Highland Park mother Dana Reuter Ring. She told the courtroom how she hid with her husband and 3 children. Then she was given a toddler to care for. That little boy was 2-year-old Aiden McCarthy, whose parents were both killed in the shooting. She had a chance yesterday to meet one of Aiden's grandparents for the very first time. Take a listen as we speak with their attorney.
A very poignant moment, and what we heard in there, the description of the carnage that we heard in there, is just something that's difficult to fathom.
Now, one thing I really want to lay out for you, because this was very different than other sentence hearings that we've ever attended. This time around, the victims and the witnesses were being asked questions as they took the stand. They were not going up to just read their victim impact statement, so that was very different, and our legal analyst pointed that out as well. Now, again, as we expect that sentence to come down, we know that it will be 7 life sentences, 1 for each of those lives lost, but this judge will have to make a decision whether those will run consecutively or concurrently. Again, we will update you all at 11 o'clock here live with what has happened so far in the courtroom. Sabrina Franza is inside as well. We're live here in Waukegan at the Lake County Criminal Courthouse. I'm Darius Johnson, CBS News Chicago. Ladies.
Darius, thank you so much. Appreciate that recap and look ahead as well. And now to some breaking news overnight. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton announced she's running for U.S. Senate.
Now I'm running for Senate because the only way out of this mess is to bring new energy, new voices, and new leaders.
In this video released this morning, Stratton says she's running for office because the Trump administration has, in her words, made a mess out of Washington, D.C. Now, if she wins a Democratic primary and then the subsequent general election, Stratton would be just the 2nd black woman elected to represent Illinois in the Senate. She's running for the seat that Senator Dick Durbin will vacate when he retires at the end of next year. Now, this comes just a day after Illinois Senator Dick Durbin announced that in an online video that he will not be seeking re-election. Durbin was first elected to the U.S. Senate back in 1996. Then he rose through the ranks to become the Democratic whip. That's the 2nd highest ranking member for the party in the Senate. This afternoon he's going to be speaking at his Springfield home, where he first announced his race for Senate back in 1995. And here's a look, by the way, at the long list of other potential candidates. Now, some of them include members of Congress Rajna Krishnamurthy, Lauren Underwood, Robin Kelly, and then former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Well, we have a few breaking overnight stories we want to fill you in on right now. In the South Chicago neighborhood, a woman is now in critical condition after a bullet flew through a window and hit her in the leg. Police tell us she was inside a home here around midnight when it happened on Burley near 88th. She's now being treated at U Chicago Medical Center. The person who fired that shot got away, according to police. Well, check out this wild video into our newsroom this morning. If you look closely, you can see that man here in a blue shirt wedged between beams and pipes underneath this expressway overpass. Now, this is right above the Little Calumet River along I-57 near Dixmoor. Next, you'll see crews here rescuing that man using ropes and harnesses. As for how the man ended up there and why he was there, Illinois State Police told us to reach out to Calumet Park Police. They have not yet gotten back to us, but we're going to be following up with this throughout the morning and into the afternoon hours. And Chicago police now have a person of interest in custody following that deadly garage fire in Austin. This after Fire Captain David Meyer died at the hospital after the roof collapsed here yesterday. The Chicago Fire Department says the flames spread after a person set fire to a trash can. No charges have been filed at this point, but in our next half hour, we'll have a live report explaining the moments leading up to that deadly fire.
9:06 on our Thursday morning. We're taking a live look outside this morning, and my goodness, we look good. Got sun is shining. I know lots of people out and about already this morning.
It's a mood lifter. Just seeing that, seeing everyone outside our studio walking around in the sun. Yeah.
Mary Kay here with more on our temperatures and where we're going to go from here. Hey, Mary Kay.
All right, good morning. We're starting to see a very light wind off the lake. That's going to be significant for temperatures downtown later on. 66 at O'Hare, it's 69 at Midway. Lots of sunshine on tap today. High pressure is in control, so the winds will be light. That's going to allow a lake breeze to develop. First out of the east and then eventually a northeasterly wind component. Remember that water temperature is still in the 40s. So at noon in the loop, I expect 68 degrees. Watch what happens through the afternoon. That intrusion of that cool push of air takes us to 49 in the loop, 43 in Gary later on, 48 degrees up in Mundelein, but 80 when you're in Ottawa, Kankakee, and Rensselaer. So quite a spread of temperatures today. Then we turn our attention to storm chances to close the work week. We stay dry through this evening, but as we get to your Friday morning rush, this cluster of thunderstorm activity, well, it is targeting Chicago. Some gusty winds and hail maybe with the strongest cells. We'll time that out. And boy, on the other side of that, there's some chilly changes for the upcoming weekend. I'll show you that in the First Alert forecast.
All right, Mary Kay, thank you. We'll see you in just a bit for more details on that. Now we turn to Chicago Bears beloved Steve Mongo McMichael.
Yeah, tributes continuing to pour in this morning following the death of the NFL Hall of Famer. Now, hours after entering hospice care yesterday, we're told McMichael died 4 years ago. McMichael's family announcing his battle with ALS. We've been following that very closely. McMichael played 13 seasons with the Bears, including that famous Super Bowl win in 1986. In a statement, Bears chairman George McCaskey says, in part, Steve showed us throughout his struggle that his real strength was internal. He is at peace now. Steve McMichael was 67 years old.
And now we are taking a live look inside St. Peter's Basilica. It has been busy. This is where Pope Francis's body is lying and stayed until his funeral on Saturday. The Vatican says nearly 50,000 mourners paid their respects in just the first 24 hours. And they updated that and said there were more than 60,000 in that first 24 hours. Wow. Pope Francis died Monday from a stroke and heart failure at the age of 88.
CBS News' Tina Kraus reports now from the Vatican, where more people are lining up at this point to see the late pontiff.
The faithful lined up for a second day to pay their respects to Pope Francis as he lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica.
I got up at 4:30 to be here at 5 a.m. like everybody else in this line to pay my respects to Pope Francis.
Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was among the tens of thousands of mourners to walk past the Pope's simple wooden coffin yesterday, with crowds, including many Americans, filing in well past midnight.
You could feel how much people really cared about him.
The outpouring of love for Pope Francis is incredible. I waited for just over 3 hours to see him, and the atmosphere inside St. Peter's Basilica is truly touching, with mourners given more than a moment but precious time to pray, to take photos, to remember the solemn occasion.
Around 170 dignitaries and heads of state are expected to attend the Pope's funeral on Saturday, which Vatican officials say will mostly take place outside in St. Peter's Square. The College of Cardinals continues to meet as anticipation grows for the conclave, the historic process to select the next pontiff.
It's going to mean a lot to the world. Choosing the new pope will be huge.
Pope Francis was a fan of soccer, or as the rest of the world calls it, football. Yesterday, fans of his beloved hometown football club, San Lorenzo, celebrated Mass in his honor in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Italy's top league, Serie A, held moments of silence in his memory Wednesday before resuming matches. Tina Kraus, CBS News, the Vatican.
Tina, thank you very much. And a reminder, Pope Francis's funeral is scheduled for Saturday, and you can watch it right here on CBS News Chicago. Coverage starts at 3 a.m. our time. Well, next, peace talks crumbling between Ukraine and Russia. And new this morning, how President Trump is now calling on Russia to take accountability.
And Ravinia tickets are now officially on sale. A look at the programming, including one aimed at lifting up classical music.
(9:13), welcome back to the show here. As we keep an eye on your world, India and Pakistan are revoking all visas issued to each other's nations following a deadly attack in Kashmir that killed 26 people. Gunmen killed mostly tourists in a region that has been claimed by both nations. Now, India's foreign ministry is telling all Pakistanis to leave before their visas expire on Sunday. Pakistan, in response, has closed its airspace to all India-owned and operated airlines. And now we turn to the talks between Russia and Ukraine. The Trump administration now encouraging both sides to reach a peace deal.
Yeah, early this morning, President Trump posted on Truth Social and offered a rare critique of Russian President Vladimir Putin, urging him to stop. Now, this comes after a series of deadly attacks on Kyiv. Yesterday, President Trump lashed out at Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky, saying he's prolonging the war by not agreeing to a plan that involved giving up Crimea. Zelensky has repeatedly said recognizing the occupied territory as Russia's is a non-negotiable for Ukraine. Also yesterday, in the Oval Office, the president said Ukraine can either accept the U.S. drafted plan for peace or continue its war with Russia alone.
I think we have a deal with Russia. We have to get a deal with Zelensky, and I hope that Zelensky, I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelensky. So far, it's been harder. I think we have a deal with both. I hope they do it.
Well, the war has resumed with full force this week following a surprise ceasefire over the Easter weekend that both sides accused each other of breaching. Well, 12 attorneys general, including Illinois, have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration's tariff policy. The suit claims the tariffs are a tax hike on the American people and that the president does not have the authority to impose new taxes without consent from Congress. President Trump claims he has the right to impose tariffs unilaterally when fentanyl and border security are involved. Now, again, this lawsuit comes as President Trump is warning his 90-day pause on so-called reciprocal tariffs might not last that long. Now, in a statement, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul responded to this, saying international trade is essential to the state economy and that he's proud to join the fight to prevent Americans from footing the bill for, quote, the Trump administration's unlawful tariffs.
A man is charged with arson after this quick-moving wildfire in New Jersey has burned more than 23 square miles. Prosecutors say the 19-year-old man, who's now charged, set wooden pallets on fire and then did not properly knock out those flames in the Pine Barrens, which is actually federally protected forest. It could turn out to be the largest wildfire New Jersey has seen in 20 years. If you haven't seen the video here, it is just horrible to see all of these acres affected. Smoke is also now affecting air quality in New York City and other nearby areas.
Well, we are getting a new look at space this morning. NASA releasing 4 new images to celebrate the Hubble Space Telescope's 35 years in orbit. The images here include Mars and nebulas and a spiral galaxy. So beautiful. The Hubble telescope entered low Earth orbit on April 24th, 1990. It's the longest operating science satellite orbiting Earth. It was carried into orbit by the Space Shuttle Discovery. Now, since its start, the telescope has made nearly 1.7 million observations. One of those is the farthest star ever seen. NASA says the light took nearly 13 billion years to reach Hubble's eyes. Wow. Well, back here on Earth, we're talking about a great forecast. Mary Kay.
Yes, a good-looking day for us, Marissa and Audrina. We have high pressure and control carving out a lot of sunshine for us, and yes, we will be warming up, but if you're away from the lake, because lakeside areas are going to feel that influence of cool breezes. We are tracking rain late tonight, probably after midnight into your Friday, with shower and thunderstorm chances. This front will cool us down for the upcoming weekend. Even though Saturday we're putting 54 on the board, I think we're talking middle and upper 40s downtown. That's it. So it's going to be windy and chilly on Saturday, and then Tuesday already looking at a weather alert day. A strong cold front will meet some 80-degree heat. Perhaps all those ingredients coming together could spark some active weather for us. Right now we have high pressure in control, so any rain, any cloud cover, all that's kind of riding around this ridge of high pressure, and the air mass is sinking and drying with time. Also, the wind flow is light underneath this ridge of high pressure. 66 degrees is where we stand. Winds are under 10 miles per hour, but usually with daytime heating we'll pick up that lake breeze, and that's why we're expecting conditions cooler by the lake. Then tonight, we cloud up. We start watching for storm chances after midnight, but especially as we get into the Friday morning rush. So at times on Friday, we could have downpours, maybe even some small hail and lightning with some of these storms as they move through. So a little unsettled here to close the work week, but at least our weekend is dry and quiet, although it will be cooler. 54 on Saturday, as I mentioned, with 40s lakeside. Then on Sunday, we will see a high of 68 degrees. So even though the weekend is dry, we do look at Tuesday, because this front is going to be meeting some heat that builds on Monday and Tuesday into the 80s. So the Storm Prediction Center already kind of eyeing our region perhaps for some strong or maybe even severe storms. So already we've posted a weather alert day for Tuesday, just to remind you to keep checking in with us day by day. We'll fine-tune that storm track, but in the meantime, scattered storms on Friday could slow you down, especially for the morning rush, and then a few isolated in the afternoon, but at least our weekend is dry and quiet. So today is dry and quiet. It's just going to feature a lake breeze, so falling temperatures along the lakefront. Let's get a look at the roads now. Good morning, Chris Habermel.
Good morning, Mary Kay. Hi, everybody. Yes, it is Friday Eve, and we've had some challenges during the day today, already ranging from a big crash on Route 53 before dawn this morning, long gone. But look, the legacy of what great weather we've got is this. We've got some big delays going on. We've got some still sunshine delays, and a lot of people are driving now because the weather is so good. However, and there always seems to be a however, we just had another crash, and it's a big one too, on the outbound side of the Eisenhower, just past Pulaski. 3 left lanes are blocked. It's a multi-vehicle crash. There's debris all over the place. So the outbound side of the Eisenhower is backed up solid from Western, inbound solid with gapers, so jumps out to Roosevelt, even with the traffic signals. You'll make a lot better time. Chris Habermel, CBS News Chicago.
Chris, thank you. Well, we know traffic can lead to stress. A lot of things can lead to stress. And April is Stress Awareness Month. So next up here on the show, we're going to have a clinical health psychologist in studio to share some of the signs, the tips, ways to help cope, and more.
Yeah, I hope she can help me with my road rage, speaking of traffic.
I think we can help with that.
And today's Jump Start is for anyone with a sweet tooth. That's Audrina and I for sure. We are live at a Brookfield candy shop celebrating 10 years in business. Don't go away.
Welcome back this morning. So I think we can all agree that stress can sometimes be overwhelming, or at least feel overwhelming, and stress levels are soaring in the U.S., with new surveys showing that more Americans are experiencing anxiety and other health issues due to stress. As far as what's causing the increased stress, we looked at this 2024 poll. It's from the American Psychiatric Association, and it showed the top stressors in 2024 were the economy, current events, the 2024 U.S. election, gun violence, and personal and family safety. And we're having this conversation because April is National Stress Awareness Month. So we wanted to bring in an expert, Dr. Stacey Fewer. She's with us here in studio, clinical health psychologist. Good morning, and thank you for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I also want to note that you're also the director of clinical health psychology department of Dooley Health and Care. And so this is something you work with every single day. And so let's start with this. Most of us deal with some type of stress, but you said that it's not always a bad thing and there's a differentiation between. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so stress gets a bad name, and so I think it's really important, especially in stressful times like this where people are saying that they're more stressed out, to really slow down and try to understand why we have a stress response. And the most important thing to understand is that the stress response is a healthy thing. It's a good thing. That is our body's way of telling us that we feel unsafe or we need to pay more attention to something around us. Chronic stress is a whole different thing. Chronic stress is when we hear about more inflammation and more ongoing problems, but acute stress and the stress response is actually information that we really want to pay attention to.
And so it could be helpful then, but does stress look different or the same in most people as far as how it shows up?
Yeah. So I would say that there's the same basic ingredients that most of us have, like a smorgasbord of ingredients, but the exact recipe for each person is going to be very individual. So things like accelerated heart rate, sweating, shortness of breath, muscle tension, racing thoughts, those kinds of things, we're probably all going to have them in some combination, but how they manifest is going to be particular to the individual.
And one thing I can even speak for personally is I've noticed stress has shown up physically.
Yes.
Is that common, or does it happen with some people?
It really is. One thing that they're really, learning more about these days is in a field called psychoneuroimmunology, is how much our brain is connected to our gut. And the majority of our neurotransmitters live in our gut, which feeds every part of our body. So when we experience stress and that environment gets disturbed, it can manifest itself as stomach issues, headaches, muscle tension, pretty much any body system, because that's what our GI system helps feed.
And I see some of the ways it manifests physically also, that on top of what you mentioned, that fatigue even. Sometimes you're thinking, I am just so tired.
Right.
Right?
So some people might get restless, or others might get exhausted, right? Some people may get in that fight mode. Their body puts them in that fight or flight mode, and some people go in that freeze mode, which is when you might isolate and actually get depressed because you're stressed.
I know so many people have dealt with more isolation than I think ever before post-pandemic, when so many people were alone.
Yes.
Any hidden warning signs? We talked about the physical manifestation. What about the hidden things?
Yeah, so when we talk about hidden warning signs, I want people to think more about kind of their thought processes and their emotional processes, and especially what we call inflexible thought and emotion processes. Stress is usually a place where we feel stuck in a situation or about a situation. And that's often because, without realizing it, our thoughts and our emotions are going to either a very black and white place where it seems like we have very few choices, or they're catastrophizing, going to the worst case scenario. But mostly what we find, if we look at our thought processes during stress, is that we probably had some very specific expectations of what a situation was going to look like. So one of the hidden signs is really noticing that inflexible thought process and being curious about that and seeing if there's any way to make it more flexible.
Okay, and so we are almost out of time, but before we go, I know anyone watching who's like, how can I manage stress? What is the quickest, easiest explanation for that? I know this is like, we could talk about that forever.
So of course there's different approaches. So I would ask people to think about either a brain first or a body first approach. So a brain first approach would be looking at our thoughts and feelings and trying to modify those in order to relax everything else. And a body first approach would be doing things like deep breathing or muscle relaxation exercises, making sure we're eating and hydrating and exercising properly to get those good chemicals going through to counteract the stress chemicals. And that will allow you to have more than one approach, depending on the situation.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your expertise and just for sharing it with us, as we know more and more people are dealing with this. So Dr. Stacey Fewer, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back.
This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning, and it's so great to be with you here on the show. I'm Karina Sinclair.
And I'm Marissa Perlman in for Dana Kozlov. Thanks for being with us. It's a little past 9:30 on your Thursday morning. This half hour, we are keeping an eye on potential charges linked to that fire yesterday that killed a Chicago fire captain. We'll share what investigators are looking into as arson is considered a cause.
But let's begin with your first alert forecast this morning. Really nice way to start our Thursday morning. Loving the sunshine here, but we are tracking storms on the other side. For details on that, let's turn to Mary Kay Kleiss. Not today though, right, Mary Kay?
No, we have a ridge of high pressure in place, Audrina and Marissa, that's going to carve out a beautiful day. We're talking 70s away from the lake, maybe even the 80s southwest and south of the Kankakee River Valley. Already we have touched 70 degrees in Joliet, 68 now in Kankakee, holding at 60 in Waukegan. As we move through time today, we are going to pick up a wind right off the lake. Remember, the lake this time of year is still in the 40s. So when we talk about a northeast wind at 10 to 15 miles per hour, well, look what happens. At noontime, we'll be in the mid-60s downtown. Then we start to push in that northeasterly wind component and temperatures start falling. Gary, wow, low 40s this afternoon, but we're talking low 80s far southwest. So it really depends where you live today as far as how warm it will feel. Tonight, we're dry this evening, but after midnight, storms fire will hold close to 50 for our overnight low. But we are targeting those storms right in time for your Friday morning rush, and the whole thing brings a cold front through that chills us down for the weekend. I'll break it down in your first alert forecast.
Mary Kay, thank you so much. A lot to get to today. We want to turn to breaking headlines we're following overnight, including this. An 81-year-old woman has died after a crash late last night on the south side. Chicago police confirming now 2 cars were involved around 10 p.m. The damage left sprawling across the roadway here on Halsted and 110th. At least 3 other people were taken to the hospital and thankfully are expected to be okay. Police are investigating, but say no citations are pending in this case.
And we saw lots of police and FBI agents early this morning in this parking lot near Wabash and Roosevelt, and we've been reaching out to the FBI throughout the morning. They just told us that the scene we saw here is actually the aftermath of some type of law enforcement activity that was court-ordered. Officials say a crash happened during that operation as well. That's why you see all the banged-up cars there. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the FBI says there's no threat to the public that we should alert you about. And Chicago police are looking for a man they say is behind 3 armed robberies.
Yeah, this happened in the Garfield Park and North Lawndale neighborhoods. The latest robbery happened on April 9th. Police say the man demanded money in this case and shot the victim when he refused. The victim then tried to drive away but crashed his car. Police say they connected the same man to 2 earlier armed robberies. Take a look at this map here. One happened February 20th while the other was on April 4th. In one of the incidents, a second person was involved, but both times victims are robbed at gunpoint and were shot. Now, we are following new details this morning in the death of Chicago fire captain David Meyer.
Yeah, a big update here. We now know police have a person of interest in custody as investigators are looking into whether that fire at the garage was intentionally set. Asal Razai live in Austin near the scene of this devastating fire. Asal, we're already seeing a vigil honoring this captain who served our city for so many years.
Yeah, that's right, Audrina and Marissa. There's actually a demolition crew here right now clearing the debris from that garage that collapsed, and just steps away you'll see a small vigil here forming. There's candles and flowers on the ground here, and this is members of the Chicago Fire Department along with family and friends of Fire Captain David Meyer are still really coming to terms with this tragedy. As far as the investigation goes, fire officials say the fire started when someone ignited the contents of a trash can. Police now have 1 person in custody. We know David Meyer, a captain, 54 years old, and nearly a 30-year veteran of the fire department, died in the line of duty when a garage caught on fire and collapsed here near Pine and Crystal early yesterday morning. One neighbor who lives next to the garage where the fire started says she's traumatized after watching Fire Captain Meyer go into the garage and not walk back out. And what's even more concerning is she says fires like this seem to be a trend in this area. So far this year, she says 3 other garages have caught on fire in this same block.
No, he didn't expect that to get out of hand, but it literally cost somebody's life.
He was the rock of his family. His wife shared with me that they had been together since they were 14 years old, and they started dating when they were 15 years old. So they've been married a long time.
And we've reached out to the Chicago Police Department this morning about that person of interest they have in custody to see if we can expect charges to come down at some point today. They say so far they don't have an update for us. Live on the west side, Asal Razai, CBS News Chicago.
Asal, thank you for that update there. And today, 2 faculty members from UIC are set to testify before state lawmakers in Springfield. Now, they're speaking about the school's planned cuts to the School of Literature, Cultural Studies, and Linguistics. The reason they're so worried about this is these cuts could eliminate a quarter of UIC's language faculty positions. The faculty union president and another professor will speak before a House committee. And some good news here. Tickets now on sale for this year's Ravinia lineup. It includes over 100 concerts. They got 40 artist debuts and some of the big names performing in Highland Park. There's a lot of them. Janelle Monáe, Cynthia Erivo, John Legend, Earth, Wind and Fire, on and on. The Roots, all of that.
A lot of excitement about this. There will also be the One Score, One Chicago, which hopes to bring the community together through classical music. Now, this morning we caught up with the executive director of education at Ravinia to talk about this year's performance and how they hope that this will connect people through music.
We have different ways for folks to explore this year's One Score, One Chicago selection, which is Beethoven's 7th Symphony. When you really dive into a piece of his music, you understand what a genius he was, but also how accessible the music is. I mean, Beethoven's 7th has some funky rhythms going on.
The festival runs from June 6th until August 31st. The performance that she was talking about is Sunday, July 20th. And I do want to note that earlier this morning, the ticket queue had 30,000 people.
30,000.
Yeah.
Okay, we thought it was going to be long, but that's long.
That's long. You have to wait in the queue, and they had record pre-sales. So just everyone's looking forward to summertime, Shy.
It's going to be a good summer.
Yeah, for sure. It is 9:39 this morning, and today we're focused on an event about raising money for HIV care and prevention.
That's right. The nonprofit Vivint Health and TPAN is hosting its 8th annual Dining Out for Life. This is where participating restaurants donate a portion of their sales today to support this cause. So joining us now is Lorraine Hayes, Vivint Health TPAN Senior Director of Philanthropy and Community Engagement. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Lorraine.
Thank you so much for having me.
So first, tell us a little bit about your organization for those of us at home who may not be familiar and what it is that you guys do.
Sure. Well, TPAN and now Vivint Health at TPAN, we've been around for 37 years providing HIV services, care and prevention. We recently opened an HIV health center at the end of last year. So we're just really looking to let the community know how we've expanded our services and the ways that they can support us by participating in Dining Out for Life today.
All right. Well, this is good that we're talking to you today about how this will work. How can people participate if they're watching and they do want to help out?
Sure. There's 2 ways that you can support us today. You can go to one of our participating restaurants. You can go to diningoutforlife.com, look up Chicago, and you can see a list of restaurants who have committed to donating a portion of their proceeds to support our work.
And I want to mention this, Lorraine, because this comes, as you mentioned, all your work with HIV healthcare, this comes at a time when the Trump administration is really making moves to cut funding for HIV research. How could those cuts kind of affect the work you guys are doing, affect your program overall?
Right. So what is happening now is that there is a plan in place, a proposed plan in place that would drastically cut HIV prevention and Ryan White funding potentially. So what that would do is that would allow us not to be able to serve people who are at lower incomes or to do our outreach work in the community. Again, that's not confirmed yet, but we're anticipating that those cuts are coming.
Yeah, I know a lot of organizations are, like you said, just keeping tabs, keeping updated on what could happen and adjusting as needed. Lorraine, thank you for joining the show this morning to just share what's happening today. We appreciate you being here. Anything that we missed that you do want to note about today's event?
Yes, if you're not able to dine out with us tonight, you can also go to our Instagram account, TPAN Chicago, and purchase a raffle ticket. We're raffling off a wonderful two-night stay at the Intercontinental Chicago Hotel. You just can purchase a $10 raffle ticket to enter, and you can support us that way as well.
All right, Lorraine Hayes of Vivint Health, TPAN, thank you for joining us. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And again, you can participate in Dining Out for Life all day today. To get a list of participating restaurants, head to diningoutforlife.com to learn more. Well, next, a live look at Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, where the NFL draft takes place tonight. The lights are shimmering already. A preview of the preps, including how the Bears are getting ready.
And we are live this morning at a candy lover's dreamland. The owner of this Brookfield shop joining us live as her business celebrates 10 years. Don't go away.
Welcome back this morning. So the sun's got us in a good mood and it's jumpstart time. And today's is for our candy lovers.
It's a lot of us out there.
Oh yeah.
So we are taking you to Brookfield this morning to Fill My Jar. The local confectionery is celebrating 10 years in business. This has been so fun all morning long. We've been spending the morning with Annette Pardon, the owner, and she's back with us live now. And Annette, you're making what I think is one of my mom's favorites, which is lemon bars for us this morning.
Show us how it's done.
Yes. So yes, I designed our lemon bark. It was my very first original kind of unique flavor. So right now what I'm doing is I'm stirring it and I'm going to add the rest of it, lemon oil into white chocolate. What I love about it is it's 100% natural lemon oil. So a lot of times to me, a lemon candy can taste a little bit artificial. This is all about the real lemon flavor. So I'm working that lemon oil right into the chocolate here. It does take a little bit for it to get fused together. And then once this is all fused and it's just about there, we take some crushed lemon candy. We hand crush that here in the shop. And you add that into, let's see, let's get a little knock on there. You add that into your white chocolate. There we go. And you make sure it's all nice and loose. And we fold that right into the white chocolate and lemon. Right now it smells like a lemon orchard in here. It's amazing. And once this is all mixed together nicely, you take your pans and you give it a nice pour down the center. This usually gets me a couple of pans. So we'll go ahead and just make you one pan here. Just break up a little clump that got in there. There we go.
Do you have an example of what this ends up looking like? Because I know the process is like long.
Yeah, so once you're finished spreading this baby, and we'll go ahead and put that aside, I can show you exactly what she looks like.
It looks good already though.
So our lemon bark
is
on this lovely charcuterie board right here. So this is our lemon bark, and we complement it on our charcuterie boards with old-fashioned lemon heads. They go beautiful together. Yep. Here's some of our lemon bark packaged in our jars. It's a beautiful spring flavor. I like to refer to our lemon bark as after dinner candy. It's really light and clean. It's kind of that perfect chocolate or candy or sweet for after a good meal. It's on the sweeter side, but I like that too because you can have a little bit and come back for more later, where sometimes I have candies that I'll eat the whole jar in one sitting. So
we would do.
Yeah.
A little goes a long way.
Yeah.
We love that.
It does, it does. And the fun thing with our jars here is we have something what we do free in the store and online, so you can shop on our website. We have jar toppers, so they're right here in front here. These jar toppers, they are to celebrate any special occasion. So right now we got Mother's Day coming, so this is for Mother's Day here. You literally can take them and put them right on tops of the jars. So you would unscrew the lid. We vacuum seal all our jars. It keeps our candy, our small batch candy, fresh. And you can wish the person a happy birthday, a happy Mother's Day, a happy anniversary, a new home.
What a great
So these
gift.
are a wonderful way to kind of dress up your jar.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for spending the morning with us. We've had so much fun learning about Fill My Jar, and happy anniversary to you.
Yes, happy 10 years. All right, Mary Kay, now that we want sweets, how's the weather looking?
Well, we can add sunshine to that as well, and congratulations to them. A great decade already. Well, temperatures are going to be moving through the 60s into the 70s if you're away from the lake, but the key is the lake breeze today, and you will feel it if you're near the lakefront. The reason we get that, high pressure is in control, the air is sinking and drying, so winds are light, skies are bright, rain rides around the edge of that ridge and stays away from us today, so we will start pulling that wind off the lake. Right now we have an east wind at 8. a 66-degree temperature. As we move through time today, we'll start picking up that northeasterly wind component. So what that means is at lunchtime, we'll hold at 51 in Waukegan, 65 in the Loop, almost 80 degrees far southwest. But as we roll through the afternoon, you can see that intrusion of that cooler air taking us down to 42 degrees in Gary. It'll be 80 in Rensselaer. So quite a spread of temperatures falling into the 40s up near the Wisconsin line as well. Now, when does it rain? I think we cloud up tonight. We're fine through midnight, but I think after midnight we start seeing those showers and storms kind of focus in on the morning rush. So we may have downpours and a few thunderstorms to start the day Friday. And then in the afternoon, with the heat of the day, we could see a few more storms line up ahead of the main cold front, which is due in, and that's going to pull in some cooler air for the weekend. So we're talking 54 on Saturday. A dry weekend though, by the way, but on Saturday a stiff wind off the lake is going to hold the city in the mid and upper 40s. That's it. So dry this weekend. One thing to mention, on Tuesday we will be issuing a weather alert because temperatures will be into the 80s, and with that strong cold front coming in, already the Storm Prediction Center kind of keeping an eye on Chicago. So we have a weather alert for Tuesday to remind you to keep checking in with us, but it's nice to see the sun today. No weather worries, just that chilly breeze coming off the lake later on. It takes forever, Chris Habermel, it seems like, for that great big lake to warm up after a long cold winter, right?
Indeed. And then when after the summer is over, it takes a while to cool down. So it really helps influence our kind of area weather here in Chicago. As we get out and about, things that are going to affect you, maybe even weather related. Road work? Yeah, we got some midday road work that just popped up on the outbound side of the Edens here up by Glencoe. So the outbound side's jammed up pretty solid now from before Willow out to past Tower. The left lane is blocked. They're repairing a divot or two up there. Core Expressway is pretty busy right now. Had an earlier crash on the outbound side of the Eisenhower right here in the midst of what is now a long delay, and that delay is because everything is kind of stretching like toffee there. So Roosevelt Road, now that crash is gone, still the Ike is a mess either direction. Have a great day. Drive safe. Let's be nice to each other. Chris Habermel, CBS News Chicago.
Yes, let's be nice, Chris. Thank you for the daily reminder. Always love it. All right, we're taking a live look now at Lambeau Field at Sparkland. Teams are getting ready for tonight's NFL draft.
Okay, fans are up in Green Bay, getting in on all the festivities, but Bears fans at home, please avert your eyes. There's going to be a lot of green and gold with the Packers playing the role of host. Green Bay is actually the smallest city to ever host the draft. That's kind of amazing.
That is interesting, yeah.
So the Bears will be on the clock with pick number 10, and after an active offseason so far, there's a lot of different ways that the team could go.
Oh, for sure. Players on the offensive side of the ball are popular picks in the latest mock drafts, with new head coach Ben Johnson taking the reins as well. So among the players Bears fans had their eyes on, we got Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty, the Heisman runner-up, dominated college football, leading in several rushing stats, but chances of him being there at 10 are low.
Yeah, two of the latest mock drafts from CBS Sports actually have the Bears trading up to draft Jeanty, while other CBS analysts are predicting them to add to the trenches, picking an offensive lineman. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are going to be watching that. Not to be outdone though by Lambeau, tonight at Soldier Field, the Bears are hosting their own draft party. At 6, fans can get on-field access, play games, along with some other interactive activities. Plus, they got a live DJ set, and that's going to kick off the season. Anyone interested can go to chicagobears.com/draft party. I mean, that sounds fun.
And a beautiful night like tonight.
I'm like, it's sunny.
Perfect.
Grab the family, get a little spot there.
I'm excited to see where we end up.
I know. We'll be talking about it tomorrow morning.
For sure.
Well, next, a look at the stories that we're following today, including a big campaign announcement from Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. We'll have that and more coming up.
And we have dry skies today. High temperatures will be cooler near the lakefront as readings will be falling into the 50s and eventually the 40s. Otherwise, daytime highs going up to 82 degrees over into Ottawa. So as we step through the weekend, we are going to see scattered storms move in for your Friday with 65 degrees. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we do dry out, Audrina and Marissa, and then warm up next week. So it's a roller coaster of temperatures.
80s to 450s. It's going to be a whole
all over
lot.
the place.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary Kay.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the News at 9. Our local news continues right here on the stream.
Yeah, thanks for being with us all morning. Always appreciate you being here. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.